April 1945. American soldiers opened the gates. What they saw changed them forever. One soldier couldn't speak for 3 days after what he witnessed. Another wrote home but burned the letter immediately. A third man described something so unbelievable that even his own family didn't believe him when he returned home years later. These are their actual words and what happened when they tried to tell the world. The discovery. The 45th Infantry Division reached Dachau first, April 29, 1945. Private First Class John Lee Archer was 19 years old. He expected a military facility, maybe prisoners of war. What he found was beyond imagination. Thousands of people barely alive, human beings reduced to skeletons. In his journal, he wrote, "We thought we'd seen war. This wasn't war. This was something else entirely." The smell hit them first, before they even saw anything. A soldier named Robert Persinger later said it was a smell you could taste, a smell that stayed in your clothes for weeks. The words they couldn't say. Many soldiers went silent, completely silent. Lieutenant Colonel Felix Sparks commanded troops at Dachau. He was a decorated officer, tough and experienced, but after liberation, he couldn't describe what he saw. In interviews decades later, he said, "I still don't have the words." Corporal James Hoyt took photographs, official documentation. He had to stop multiple times because his hands were shaking. In a letter home, he tried to explain, "There are things a camera can capture, but it can't capture the feeling of standing there." What they told the world. General Dwight Eisenhower visited Ohrdruf concentration camp days after its liberation. He saw the evidence firsthand. Eisenhower immediately ordered something unprecedented. He demanded American congressmen and journalists be brought to the camps immediately to witness and document everything. He said, "Get it all on record now. Get the films, get the witnesses. Because someday, some person will say this never happened." Soldiers were ordered to document everything: photographs, testimonies, physical evidence. Private Alvin Barber from the 42nd Infantry Division wrote, "I want to forget, but I can't let myself forget, because someone has to remember." The emotional toll. Many soldiers broke down, even the toughest combat veterans. Sergeant E.G. McConnell witnessed the liberation of Buchenwald. He'd fought through North Africa, Sicily, and France without flinching, but at Buchenwald, he sat down and cried. He said later, "I'd seen men die in battle. That's war. This was murder on a scale I couldn't comprehend." Some soldiers gave their own rations to survivors, even though they were told not to. The survivors' bodies couldn't handle rich food, but the soldiers couldn't help themselves. Medic Bert Weston said, "You just wanted to do something, anything, to make it right somehow." When they came home. Many soldiers didn't talk about it, not for decades. Their families asked about the war. They'd talk about battles, about friends they lost. But the camps, they stayed silent. Leon Boss was a black American soldier who helped liberate Buchenwald. He didn't speak publicly about it for 36 years. When asked why he finally decided to share his story, he said, "Because I started hearing people say it didn't happen. That made me speak up." Some soldiers had nightmares for the rest of their lives, flashbacks, anxiety, what we now understand as post-traumatic stress. Benjamin Ferencz was a young army investigator gathering evidence of war crimes. He later became a prosecutor at the Nuremberg Trials. He said, "I was 27 years old. I'd never seen a dead body before I went to war. Then suddenly I was walking through death camps." The survivors they met. The soldiers didn't just witness horror, they witnessed humanity's resilience. Survivors approached them with gratitude, despite everything they'd endured. Many could barely walk, but they wanted to shake hands, to thank their liberators. Private Lester Tanner remembered a man who weighed maybe 70 pounds. He grabbed Tanner's hand and kissed it repeatedly, tears streaming down his face. Tanner said, "I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like we'd arrived too late for too many people." Some survivors had been waiting for years, hoping for this day. Children who didn't remember life before the camps. Families torn apart. Soldiers tried to reunite families, posted names, searched records. Sometimes they succeeded, often they didn't. The photographs they took. The images became evidence, historical documentation, proof. But for the soldiers who took them, they were memories they couldn't escape. Every click of the camera was another scene burned into their minds. Signal Corps photographer J. Malin Heslop took thousands of photographs at multiple camps. He later said, "I thought documenting it would help me process it. It didn't, but it had to be done." These photographs circulated worldwide. Newspapers, newsreels, evidence at trials. The world saw what these soldiers had seen firsthand. Their message to future generations. Decades later, aging veterans began speaking at schools and museums. They knew time was running out. They wanted young people to understand, not just the facts, but the lesson, that hatred unchecked leads to unimaginable darkness. Soldier after soldier repeated similar messages. "Don't let anyone tell you this didn't happen. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes." They emphasized that ordinary people carried out these crimes, not monsters. People, with jobs and families and neighbors. That's what frightened them most, how normal everything had seemed to those who committed these acts. The weight they carried. Many soldiers said liberating the camps was their most important contribution, more important than any battle they'd fought. They'd saved lives, given survivors hope, documented truth. But they also carried the weight of what they'd witnessed forever. Harry Herder Jr. was with the 4th Armored Division at Ohrdruf. He kept his photographs hidden for 50 years. Couldn't look at them. Finally, he donated them to a museum. He said, "They're not mine to keep. They belong to history." Conclusion. These soldiers didn't ask to become witnesses to history's darkest chapter, but they understood their responsibility. They documented, they testified, they remembered. Even when it hurt to remember. Their words remind us, this happened, this was real, and it must never happen again. The last American Liberator veterans are now in their late 90s or have passed away, but their testimonies remain, their photographs remain. Their message to us is simple: learn from history, speak up against hatred, never forget. Because those who survived depended on these soldiers to tell their story. And now we carry that responsibility forward. These American soldiers' reactions to Nazi concentration camps changed history forever. World War II soldiers who liberated concentration camps became witnesses the world needed. U.S. Army's discovery at Dachau and Buchenwald gave Holocaust survivors their voice. American troops' Holocaust liberation testimonies remain our strongest evidence. These eyewitness accounts from U.S. soldiers who witnessed Nazi camps remind us hatred destroys, but truth endures. Learn their stories. Share their mission. Never forget.